Here's to you, dear listeners, and welcome to Metal Gear Mondays, the most thorough Death Stranding podcast on the internet. I am one of your hosts, Sam Wright, a little sick boy, a little post-Halloween sickness for ya, up in ya, you know.
You got that spooky flu.
So apologies. You get that spooky flu, that spooky, scary flu. I knew I should have gotten my flu shot last week, but yeah, whatever. I could not do this alone. Of course, I'm here with Mr. Cole Duncan.
Hey, Sam. I'm sorry you're not feeling great, dude.
Well, you know, sometimes. Oh God, wow. Sometimes. See, when I do I can't do the high pitch thing because then that's when it sounds really bad. Sometimes
I feel like this is my fault in a weird way. I really do. I feel terrible.
You're right.
Because like we should have had this recorded like a couple days ago, but my PC was like, you know what? Nah, we're not going to do that. Why would I want to work for you?
Yeah.
So I am sorry.
No, it's okay. We're here. We made it, and it's an outer op. So we're going to be discussing your topics that you suggested on Patreon. Mm-hmm. For patrons, you can visit patreon.com/MetalGearMondays to be a part of that. We're also going to be reading your emails about your theories and thoughts about Death Stranding. So it's going to be very, very interesting stuff. And we're going to be also talking about this brand new launch trailer that came out couple days ago. Yeah, boy is right. The final trailer before Death Stranding's release, which as you're listening to this is this Friday. Woo. So, or if you're enterprising enough, 9 p.m. on Thursday. But yeah, it's almost time. But before we start talking Death Stranding, we want to do something we haven't done in a little bit, which is give a thanks on the show to our $5 and up patrons, as is customary. And we also have a couple 150-word messages, or just messages, I guess, from new patrons. And we're going to talk about that right now. So, Cole, would you like to start talking about our list, and we'll alternate back and forth?
Sure. I just want to say thanks to Mr. Adam Guard.
Oh yeah, Adam Guard. I want to say thanks to Mr. Ben Lewis.
Oh, look at him! Look at Ben. Well, while we're at it, you might as well say big thank you to Brady.
Oh yeah, and another big thank you to Caio Vincentini. Pretty sure I got that right this time.
I think you got that right. And then shout out to my boy Chase Cortez. I see you, fam.
Ooh. Yeah, and then a shout out to Colt, your boy and mine, Chris Hampton.
Oh, and then another. I'm gonna skip over that dude because I don't like this guy.
I don't think you are. I don't think you are gonna skip over this dude. I think you're gonna do it, is what you're gonna do. Well, as if this was intentional or something.
Big shouts out to my boy Cole Duncan. Absolutely just killing it right now. You're doing great, King.
Just crushing the game, slaying the game.
Don't ever let them see you slipping. You got this.
Then I want to also give a big shout out to Dean.
Thank you as well to my man Jack Keating.
And a little bit of a thank you. A bit of a thank you. What was that? What did I just do with my
love that, whatever it was.
A bit of a thank you to Joey Kuchera.
And a big ol' lot of a thank you to Mr. Joseph Hannawalt.
And another big ol' thank you to Josh Shermer.
And can I say konnichiwa to Mr. Joshua James?
Oh, okay. And I'll say ring ring mushy mush. Is that Joshua Mason? Sure is. Thank you.
Well, while we're at it, I'm going to say thanks to Joshua Wiley.
Joshua Wiley. I'll give a big old shout out to Justin Norton.
And another thank you so much to Mr. Louis Marin Jr.
Louis Marin Jr. It's a rap song. It's a Migos song. Louis Marin Jr.
It's that new Migos joint.
It's a Migos flow.
And another huge thanks to Matt Jakersevic, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm terrible at this.
I've always said Jakersevic, but I mean...
Jakersevic, that's probably right.
Matt
Matt Jakersevic, my man.
Jakersevic. Also, my man, Matt Smith.
To the one of the cooler names on here, I love it, Mr. Michael A. Nielsen.
Yes, indeed. And I'd like to give a shout out to Mr. Wolf Terry. I love you.
Love you, dude. Oh, who's that over that I see over on the horizon, Sam? Is that? I can't be. Is that?
It can't be.
Is that Nick Ziegler? Oh my God! It
is. It is Nicky Z in Nicky the place Z. To be. Booyakasha.
We love that, baby.
Boy. We love, baby. Nicky Z in the place to be, baby. Yeah. I'd like to give a shout out here to Scott Fox.
One love to the one and only. Thank you, my man.
And I got to give a shout out to my boy, Tyler Nunez. Oh, yeah.
And a big shout out to not only this man, but to your state, Mr. Tyler Washington.
Tyler Washington, yes. And last but certainly not least, because it's all in alphabetical order, Will Freshettes. Thank you all for your generous contributions to the cause.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
We've also got some Patreon messages to read.
Mm-hmm.
So I will actually, just for the sake of it, Cole, could you read this first one? We never it's a longer one, and we never begrudge folks for sending longer emails and messages. We really love it, but right now I feel as if I'm not equipped to read a long email.
Yeah, man. I can let me take over on this one.
Cool.
So this is from our boy Josh Shermer. He says, "You guys may know me as JossBoy94 on the Discord, and let me start off by saying I'm sorry it took this long to write to you guys. Like others who have written in, I had no idea how to word this message, so here goes my best attempt, and I hope I don't rant for too long. First off, I'll join the group and say I am glad this podcast exists. Personally, I don't listen to podcasts at all. But one morning when I came to work, I had an insatiable crave for someone to talk about Metal Gear and decided to search Spotify for a podcast on it. Lo and behold, I found you guys, and my work days during the week have been a million times better just listening to you guys talk about playing the games, lore, and everything in between. The show is comedic, insightful, and just simply wonderful. Well, I joined, so that's probably not going to be comedic for too much longer. I started listening in March on the very first classic MGS episode and listened to it for hours and hours a day, even catching up to the Renton City Retro announcement on Memorial Day. Trust me, if I could have been there, I would have bought a plane ticket the day I heard that episode."
Dang, son.
Like others before me, this show has really brought a feeling of nostalgia to me. I, quote-unquote, played Metal Gear Solid 1 when I was about 5 or 6 with my dad. Like Sam, my dad and I would play it together, and I loved it instantly. However, being as young as I was, I did a lot more watching than playing, and would sit next to my dad on the couch for hours, watching him sneak around guards and fighting Ocelot and Sniper Wolf and the whole lot. One day I came home from school, and, to my bewilderment, my dad told me he beat the Metal Gear and finished the game. Though I was not happy that he did it without me, come on, Dad, I was happy that he finally beat it. My dad was never really into video games and wasn't very good, but it was exciting. It was exciting being so young and watching my dad play this amazing game. Unfortunately, my parents have since separated, but the memory I have with him and his game lives on, and I will cherish it forever. In my sophomore year of high school, I remembered that the game used to exist, and I found a copy at a secondhand store. You best believe I scooped it right up. As soon as I got home that day, I immediately popped it in and played the whole game through. Luckily for me, it was winter break, so I had nothing else to do. As soon as the end credits rolled, I flashed back to when my dad and I would play and thought to myself, wow, I finally did it on my own. It was then that my Metal Gear obsession started budding and I really got into the game. For Christmas that year, I was more than surprised to find Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 in a present from my dad. I was ecstatic. Finally, I could keep playing the story of Snake and the crew, and I had not one more but 2 more games to play. To no surprise, They got played and beaten very quickly, and very many hours were spent staring at a TV. Metal Gear Solid 2 really got to me because, like probably everyone else, I was livid that I didn't play as Snake for most of the game. Livid. And was very confused about the plot. No, you're not wrong, buddy. The point where you get to the weird codec calls from Colonel Campbell literally gave me nightmares for a while, and I didn't really know how to take the ending. I want you to know that I really sympathize with that point.
Cole is not a scary.
I am not a spooky boy at all, and that last little bit fucked me up, man. Oh, sorry. Metal Gear Solid 3 also had me a little confused as to what was going on until the end, where Snake gets to the title of Big Boss. At that point, I literally said out loud, "Oh shit, that makes sense." Then the ending played of Big Boss in the cemetery, and I absolutely lost it. That one tear from Big Boss and his salute just set me off, and I don't think an ending to a video game to this day has ever hit me as hard as that. Metal Gear Solid 4 was a while after those. I was in college, my roommate had a Legacy collection. I spent many nights playing while everyone else had already gone to bed. To be honest, this was the only time I ever played Metal Gear Solid 4, but I loved it. I felt so bad for my man Old Snake and loved the ending with Big Boss. Then, years later, Metal Gear Solid 5 comes up on free with gold on Xbox, and I knew I had to play it. I'm not going to get into how depressingly lacking the story was, but the mechanics and gameplay were absolutely top-notch. But you know that song and dance, so I'll save the rant. Lastly, I just want to say that I love and adore this podcast. I'm so glad there are others out there who have the same obsession as me for this game. Just listening to you all talk about playing the game is fantastic, not to mention the lore, killer interviews, and everything in between. You guys have indefinitely made the most thorough Metal Gear podcast on the internet. Guys, never stop being amazing people. Listening to these podcasts, I almost feel like I have built a friendship with you all, and I love hearing what you guys have to say about literally anything. Patriot Club episodes are wonderful, and Alessio and Isaac's past DJing material is awesome. This last one is for Sam. Sam! Hello from Cincinnati. Hope Seattle is treating you well.
Hello from Seattle.
Also, do you say "oop" a lot? Because I sure as hell do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yep. Frequently. Constantly.
As Snake would say, "You're pretty good." Sorry for the rant, and long live MGM. Josh Shermer. P.S. Isaac Lim, my man, this is me replying to your tweet. I am doing this of my own free will, and not because you tweeted at me on Twitter. Thanks for the shout out, and I hope that you have a great day, even though you said that one time that you, and then he kind of trails off there, so it sounds like...
Well, he ran into the Twitter character limit there, so... And then I will read this message from our friend Tyler Washington.
All right.
Tyler says, as a month-long fan, I have binged the hell out of your guys' show, and I've wanted to support since day one, but now finally can since I'm caught up. You caught up in a month? What the hell?
That's crazy.
I found you while I was looking for Metal Gear music, and somehow you showed up. I found myself laughing so hard at my old job that it got me through the last rough month and almost fell off a ladder because it was so funny. You guys are amazing. I even, oh God, this is controversy. I even like Cam. I said it. Can't wait for the future with Death Stranding coming and the future in general, and can't wait to be part of this future.
Well, thank you, man.
Thanks, Tyler.
I love Cam.
Yeah. I love Cam.
I
love baseball.
I'll scream it from the rooftops. I love Cam Clark.
that's okay.
Or is this like see, now what I'm thinking is Cam like our couple's name? You know how like they had like Brad Jelena?
No, he's talking. I'm very sure he's talking about Cameron Hill.
Oh, yeah, I love Cam too.
From the old days. Yeah. So before we move on to talking about this launch trailer, I've got a couple of house cleaning things that I would like to bring up.
Sure.
We have a PlayStation community for Metal Gear Mondays that you should check out in the PSN community. Join If you haven't received an invite, keep up with your MGMers. And that's also going to be where you can see Alessio's stream. He's going to be streaming Death Stranding on release day. So if you'd like to watch that, please join in. It'll be on the PSN community and Twitch. He'll be streaming from 11:30 p.m. to 3 a.m. EST. That's Eastern Time. And that's on Thursday, November 7th to Friday, November 8th. And then he'll be back on 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. EST, Friday, November 8th. You can check that out by joining that PSN community. I think if you just search for Metal Gear Mondays, you'll find it. And then also, you could also go to bit.ly/Alessio YouTube, and that'll get you on the YouTube version of the stream. So check things out. He is also AC Summerfield on Twitch. He's going to be streaming it there as well. So please check all that stuff out. Then I would also like to very quickly thank Fingers Music. That is F1NG3RS Music on Twitter. And I believe on YouTube as well for the remix to the Death Stranding theme song that we are currently using for our intro and outro for the Death Stranding season. You, of course, heard it at the top of this episode, and I'm going to thank him again at the end and do all this housekeeping stuff at the end, but I wanted to get everything up at the front so you're not waiting for 30 years for this information. So check all that stuff out. Follow Fingers on Twitter. Follow Alessio on the various points. And yeah, check all that out.
Absolutely.
Now, Cole.
Now, Sam.
You ready to talk about this fucking launch trailer? His 8-minute masterpiece.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So yeah, this fucking trailer, dude. This is the launch trailer that we had talked about a couple weeks ago in the news section that we were promised. This is the one. It was cut together specifically by Hideo Kojima. I'm not going to give like a spoiler warning or like a time frame for you to jump out and jump back in. I think we've been very clear on the podcast that we believe like the trailers and all the stuff surrounding the game leading up to the game are very intentionally part of the experience of a Kojima game, and people can and might disagree with that, but we have a very hard line about how we feel about that. And we're going to be talking about this for a little bit, so there's not really any way to predict how long we're going to be talking about it. Also, you're listening to a podcast that we're talking about Death Stranding and theories and things like that. So I should ask you what you're doing if you're listening to this.
Your spoiler warning expired at the door.
Yes. So that being said, we are going to start talking about the trailer now. Yeah, what the fuck?
Dude, I don't know. It's a lot. We actually get to see Die Hardman's face. So that mask does come off.
Does. Well, so here's the thing. Is like, does it come off or is that a prequel? Is that a flashback?
Oh, that could. So,
yeah.
What if that's like from when the scene where, Cliff is running through Bridges? I assume that's Bridges with the BB
at the beginning.
Yeah, and maybe Cliff like caps Die Hardman, and that's why he has the mask.
That's why he has to wear the mask. Could be.
Oy. But yeah.
Cliff escaping the facility at the beginning of this trailer actually kind of ties into a listener theory that we have to talk about later. Mm-hmm. So remember this part for that part of the theory.
Yeah.
And then you can also hear what Cliff has been singing this entire time to BB in the Tank, which is BB's theme. And it's like a little like nursery, like a lullaby about protecting BB and things of that nature. So that's interesting.
Really, really endearing.
Yeah.
I'm really sad at the same time.
Very endearing and sad. Cliff runs afoul of some guards, and he's sitting aiming a gun as he's bleeding, which is bad. Mm-hmm. And then it cuts to some scenes of just the area, and then it cuts to this. So it says these couple things in text. on the trailer, it says, a man who cut ties with the living Sam, that's living hyphen Sam, and then a young life bound to the dead BB. They must make us whole again and unite life and death. So that's already lots more questions.
Yep.
Does that mean that there's two Sams? Is one dead? There's two BBs?
Well,
like one's alive?
Yeah, I mean, like, I did see a prevalent theory that I'm starting to give a lot more credence to, that it's not, like the whole chiral aspect doesn't just kind of apply to, say, like a network. You might have like a chiral double, someone else, like the person that kind of overlaps you. So there definitely could be a kind of other Sam.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember reading another theory too that like Cliff is Sam. Mm-hmm. And like, what if Cliff is the dead Sam?
Right.
Or whatever. So there's a lot of stuff there as well. Then mentions that there's a scene of Sam riding his motorcycle and Fragile's talking, and she goes that her dad told her that America was special, and that the people were the glue that held it together, and that it was more than a nation, and that if they could bring it all back if they kept making deliveries and connecting people. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of flashes over to Higgs, who rises from this like murky, like this ink on this platform, and he motions to be quiet, and then it flips over to Die Hard Man, and he's outside and he's aiming his gun at something.
Yeah, and doesn't have the mask on. Or wait,
well, no, that's later. He has the mask on.
That's when he has the mask on in that one. He doesn't have the mask on it later on in the trailer.
Yeah. Then there's a moment where Bridget and Amelie say, "I'm waiting for you on the beach" at the same time, and they're kind of transposed over each other, which is very interesting. But then later on in the trailer, like not even a couple minutes later, Bridget tells Sam to help Amelie and that she needs him, like speaking as if she's a different person. So this whole connection between Bridget and Amelie is very confusing.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, is that I've been seeing a lot of people saying like this trailer is like really spoilery, and I'm like, how are you, like, what spoilers are you really getting out of this?
Right. I'm just as confusing.
Yeah, I've been looking for everything in this game for the past few months, and I still have a very, very, very loose understanding.
After this, Deadman sees a handprint on Sam's arm, and asks where he got it from, and says from a woman in a cave, I think, if I'm getting that right.
Yeah.
And then Deadman says that it's, I didn't hear him entirely right, but he said it's a venophosophobia, I think is what it's called.
Aphanphosophophobia.
Aphanphosophophobia, yeah. And then he apologizes to Sam and saying that, I think it was Lou or Blue?
Lou.
Lou, yeah, was going to be the name of Sam's baby if he had made it. And Sam says he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah. So I think the BB that Sam has, Deadman named him Lou, and that was going to be Sam's child's name.
The one thing we do have confirmed by that aphanphosophophobia is that the whole theory that Sam has a phobia of being touched is confirmed.
Yeah. Which then later, like way late, like at the end of the trailer, Fragile mentions that she has to touch him to do this, thing that she's going to do. So that's another thing. Then there's a moment where Mama is laying on a table, and I think like a twin of hers is like embracing her, and it almost feels, and they're both crying, and it almost feels like Mama is giving birth a little bit, is what it looks like.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah, it's very kind of like sterile, kind of like a sterile environment. But I mean,
I was mostly confused. I was like, there's two of them now. 2 margarita qualities. Don't mind if I do.
Oh. You're gonna lose it, my man.
I don't know. Well, Zach James will be happy now that there's 2 of them, so we don't have to fight anymore.
You got one for each.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you make of that?
I think it kind of goes back to that what I was talking about with this kind of theory that you have a kind of a chiral like double, someone maybe on the other side. We already know that Mama has a really kind of deep connection to the beach, since she literally has a BT that is attached to her at least at some point. Maybe the BT that is attached to her is this double. Who knows? Who knows?
After this scene, there's another scene of Heartman. He's gray on the beach, but then this lady pokes him in the chest and turns him into color again. And you got to wonder, is that his wife? Is this the moment he gets dragged away from the group of people?
I was just about to say that. I was like, what do you want to bet that's his wife?
Yeah.
And that's
why he's yelling as he's being dragged away, is because he saw her again.
Yeah, he found her. And then
but then she had the power to turn him colorful again as well, to bring him back to life, I guess.
I suppose so. Or it's perfect timing that she touches him and then his heart monitor kind of goes off.
Uh-huh. That'd be interesting. Yeah, so that's interesting. Then the next thing, you have clips of Higgs punching the shit out of Sam without his hood on.
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately, this is the first time we've seen this in any of the materials, is Cliff in probably what looks like either the real world or the beach strangling Sam. So this is the first time they've interacted in this material, the promotional material.
It didn't. It looked like Cliff was. This is going to sound weird. It's not like he was angry. It wasn't it looked like he was like kind of lamenting what he was doing. Maybe that's just a weird read for me, because I just want that to happen, but it just didn't seem like there was like a crazy amount of malice that he was doing this.
Yeah, it didn't. And his face seemed very like measured and yeah. After that, you get a kind of a time lapse of some medical staff and some characters, so Deadman, Heartman, and Die Hardman in the Oval Office with Bridget as they're tending to her. And as the people kind of fade away and walk away, there's a holographic facade that fades away, and that they're in a white room. So the Oval Office that we've seen is potentially a holographic chamber. And then as this is happening, Sam mentions that it wasn't much to leave because he was never welcome there. And Deadman says that even I was welcome there. So Deadman did something.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder if like maybe Deadman came from like a different group. Like maybe he was in the group with the Homo Demons and came over or something like that.
Or he had something to do with like Cliff's people or something like that. Or maybe it's just this kind of like a narrative on just like outsiders being included.
Yeah.
Even I was, welcome.
So if I was welcome, then why wouldn't you be welcome?
Exactly.
Excuse me. Then there's after this there's a weird moment where Sam like slashes Mama on the chest, and this like light flashes out of her, which is weird.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the double, maybe that he's. Maybe. Because if that's the case, if the whole theory that the BT is Mama, and this is Sam doing away with her, that will allow her to leave. So we see that scene that we saw a long time ago where he's got her on his back.
And then right after this, it flashes to Sam and Amelie hugging on the beach while the sun explodes behind them, which is wild.
Yeah. They talk about extinction level events a lot, so
yeah, they do. which it shows the cast list again. And it shows Cliff crying, and he seems very like regretful or remorseful, but he's wearing his like military gear. So this is like post beginning or post like flashback Cliff. And then this is where it shows Die Hard Man without his mask, and he's crying. He looks like he's trying to lift something.
Yeah,
So
like he's struggling. He's struggling somehow.
And then right after this, you hear a voiceover of Cliff of Higgs, and he mentions there have been 5 extinction events caused by an extinction entity, and that it's time for number 6. And then there's this like weird whale thing, kind of looks like Sin from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah. So are we kind of under the assumption that those hovering beings are these things that he's talking about?
These entities?
Yeah.
Maybe like a version of them, yeah.
Because, there are
they
5.
Seem very important.
There are 5 of them just kind of hovering up off, above the beach. I'm just and then, Hideo doesn't show us things just to be like, it's just food for thought. No, he's like there's intent behind it.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think you might be right. Like maybe they cause this extinction event in the real world, and then they become whatever those things are in the beach, and they're just kind of stranded. They're stranded there.
Right. I mean, and it would give the Homodemons kind of a reason to, be so, what's the word I'm looking for? So dedicated to wanting to, bring about this, this extinction level event to become one of these entities in that case.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And so you think like Higgs is trying to become one of these entities?
Yeah, I think, or it's because there's a, like we've talked about, there's a kind of weird culty religious aspect to what they're doing. They kind of, they're like military separatists. They're referred to as zealots. Maybe I should have used the word zealous. I don't know, Duncan. That might have been smart. But there's a religious aspect to it from what I've seen, and it would make sense that, they hold these beings in, the same regard that you would hold a deity. If they're able to create an extinction level event, I mean, what's to stop them from being considered a god? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then the prospect of becoming a god would be, or ascending to a godhood seems pretty along the lines of, cultish. So I could see that. I could see that being the Homodemons' like main goal, to become one.
Yeah, I can get behind that. All right, what happens next? Next after this, Sam tells Deadman to take care of Lou and he hands the BB with the gray shell over to Deadman and Heartman and maybe Mama's like double, because she's dressed like the double from earlier. Look on. And then Higgs shoots BB in a different scene, and BB seemingly dies, which if we listen to the ESRB rating, I think that's confirmed to be a thing that happens.
Right.
So it doesn't seem to be a fake out. And then it cuts to Sam plugging into BB, and then he falls into the water. And as he's in the water, you hear this voiceover from Amelie saying that she had no idea she was alive until he told her, and that living is no different than being dead if you're all alone. And then she says that she's on their beach where she was born and to come and find her.
That's some big Silent Hill 2 vibes.
Yeah,
coming from this.
Very much so. Oh, completely, yes. And then it cuts to the title. And it says that Higgs says that he's not the only one wearing a mask. He mentions Boss Man, which I suppose is Die Hard Man, and that woman, which I suppose is Amelie.
Mm-hmm.
And then says, even you. And then it cuts to him shoving one of those gold masks onto Sam's face, which is wild.
It like lifts him up. It's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lifts him up by the jaw.
By the jaw.
Wild. Yeah. By the jaw.
By the jaw.
Jaw bones. Jaw bones.
Just gets him right there.
Lift him up by the jaw bone.
No, I mean, it's a wild. I mean, and then you start seeing, all the BTs like underneath Sam, like reaching up for him. It's a really, really harrowing moment right there.
Yeah, very much so. And then from one harrowing moment to another, this is Alessio's favorite part of the trailer. There's this voiceover where Amelie's talking about her real name that is dubbed over a very large version of her walking up to the beach.
Yeah.
So Alessio's theme of wanting large women to step on him continues. And she mentions that her real name is Amerigo, after Amerigo Vespucci, who she says is the man who discovered the continent. And when Sam says, I thought that was Columbus, Amelie says that Vespucci was full of it and lied, and mentions that America is a lie. Ooh, spooky, scary.
Deep cuts. We're really
fucking
we're getting into it.
Hashtag Amelie is a bad guy.
She's not. You're losing this bet.
She is. No.
Yes.
I don't think I am. I do not think I am.
I think you are.
I don't think I am. Anyway, then this is the part we talked about earlier. Fragile mentions that she'll have to touch him for this after opening her umbrella, and she tells Sam to close his eyes and picture Amelie on her beach, and then a couple times asks if he loves her, and then she goes, there it is, and her little spikes flare out, and then boom, Sam gets zapped away.
He just whooshes. He just disappears.
He whooshes, which also lends like credence to the theory that Fragile is going to be like maybe your fast travel system or what have you.
Yeah, the Fragile Express.
Mm-hmm.
That. Yeah.
And then as the trailer ends, you hear a countdown, and Heartman says, "Oh, it's almost time." So I think that's like not only having to do with Heartman's like time, like his time in this world being alive, but also like it's almost time for the game.
Yep, little cheeky little double entendre there.
Little double entendre.
Double entendre.
Double entendre. Yeah, that's the trailer. Lots of crazy stuff. Still no real answers.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it was so Alessio made a good point after I said this. I think without the rest of the materials leading up to this, this wouldn't have been as exciting of a trailer, but this trailer I think was my most compelling piece of Death Stranding material.
Yeah, I mean, they did he did a really fantastic job kind of keeping this hype alive for as long as he has, and then this trailer was just like kind of the big nail in the coffin that we all needed.
Absolutely. So that is that. Cole,
Sam,
you ready to talk about some topics?
Let's get some topics, some Death Stranding topics.
Some Death Stranding topics, some off-topic topics. We're doing a lot of stuff.
Just doing some topical topics.
Just a few topical topics. So the first thing we have here is from our friend Alessio Summerfield. He has a couple questions. He says, number 1, besides games as services and single games as hobbies, do you think the future holds more games like Death Stranding and The Last of Us?
Absolutely. I mean, it's inevitable. I think that art is constantly evolving, and this is just part of the process. I mean, back in the day, games,
I think these very, very personal, like, involved stories.
Yeah.
In games.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's their stories. They're meant to be, these kind of interactive narratives that kind of give you agency without really giving you full agency of the art form. It's kind of like the author allowing you to fully experience the art.
Yeah.
I think that we have more games like that. I don't think that every game, every big AAA title coming out will be anything like Death Stranding or The Last of Us or these very heavy narrative driven games, which I'm okay with.
Like there's even been like a trend too, where like if you think about it, like even like more action oriented games like the God of War game that came out last year, like even that was more of like a very personal story driven.
It's very true
as well. I think you're gonna find. I think you're gonna find going forward that games are either going to be. We're still gonna get these like very personal games like Last of Us and Death Stranding, but I think what you're gonna find more of going forward are games like God of War that have this very personal narrative, but also have like a very bombastic, like entertaining, for lack of a better word, entertaining gameplay loop.
Right. That are easy to kind of latch onto and enjoy.
Because again, it's like I'd struggle to say that, and there's another question that later on I think from Alessio that asks this a little bit, but I think I struggle to call the gameplay loop of The Last of Us entertaining. But I think as a game, I think it is essential. So, and I feel like that might be the case for Death Stranding too. It's like entertaining, maybe not as far as like core gameplay loops, but like for what you're doing and what you're experiencing and expressing even is more important and help drive the experience.
Right.
So yes and no. I don't think it'll be the core. Like, I don't think it's going to be like what developers say is the thing that has to be going forward, but I think you're going to find more games embracing that very personal story-driven aspect of gaming in their quote exciting gameplay loops.
Right. He also asks, what are you most excited and least excited about the release of Death Stranding?
Honestly, I'm most excited about it just being here.
Yeah.
Like, we've been hearing about it for so long, and it's finally coming in a couple of days, and it feels so insane to me that it's finally on its way.
I'm really excited to see kind of what Kojima has done, because I mean, like we've talked about before, this is a completely new IP, with all the Metal Gear games, we had somewhat of a basis going into them. Like, okay, I know that it has to have this component. It's going to have this component. We have no idea with this. It's like, well, I will be walking. I know that.
That's all we know for sure.
I'm least excited while we're talking about walking. I'm least excited about the prospect of like essentially escort missions, which is my least favorite thing in video games.
For good reason.
Yeah. The idea that, and it doesn't have to be like, oh, you have to escort mama. No, like the idea, that literally everything you're doing is an escort. It seems like that we've seen.
Because it's less like, because the thing of it is too, it's like even like for the packages, because you can lose the packages.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I think you're trying to say, is that like even inanimate objects become an escort mission in this world.
They get damaged. Or is it raining? You better find shelter, or you better waterproof that, it's that like, kind of aspect.
These bad guys, these mules want to take them away from you, so you better not let them take them away from you. It's just like it brings up very Resident Evil 4 vibes of PTSD.
God, don't you bring Ashley into this? Good God.
Oh fuck! Help me, Leon.
No. I'm gonna tell the president that it's just not worth it anymore. I'm just gonna stay in Spain.
Damn Ashley to the depths of hell. Damn you.
Absolutely. They should we should have let the Las Plagas take you. I'm sorry, sweetheart. This one is.
I think my answer is the same. Honestly, I'm excited that it's here.
Yes.
I'm not excited that it's here.
Because
Because like I feel like it has existed for so long as an idea, and I don't want my idea of it to be like dashed against the rocks, if we could use that biblical term we've been talking about. And we'll also bring it up a little bit later with one of our fan messages, but listener messages, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's I say that, like that kind of sounds jaded of me, but I am legitimately excited about playing the game. Because I haven't had a game that I've looked forward to for a long time, like I have looked forward to Death Stranding. So that aspect it's important, but it's not at the same time. We've seen ways that you can kind of mitigate that. But by that token, I'm not a huge fan of like min-maxing in video games or in games in general. I rather, just like to let the game kind of take me wherever it wants to take me, tell me the story it wants to tell me. And so this kind of optimization thing, which seems very, like integral, I'm not super excited about. But
that's why I hope like the auto optimization is good.
Right. But then, at that time I'm like, am I losing something by, not being like, okay, well, hold on, let me think for a sec. If I have, this package on this arm, I can probably swing a little faster if I need to, get into a fight. But that will weigh me, like, kind of weighing those options does sound like a really cool idea. But it also just sounds like a shit ton of work that I don't want to do.
Yeah, it gives me anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah.
So, Alessio also asks, having not ever covered a game while it is current, what difficulties or differences do you think the DS season of the show will hold? And I guess, Cole, this is your first like game you're covering for the show.
Yeah.
So I'll let you answer here in a sec, but just like for me, I think the biggest issue is going to be figuring out how to divide the game up on the fly for the episodes, because before we've being as part of the show, we played the Metal Gear games before, so we kind of knew like, okay, where's a good point to stop for X episode. But like for Death Stranding, all we know is that it's going to be maybe around like 50 hours, and we don't really know like, well, where's a good narrative point to stop at, what's going on here. So I think that's going to be the most difficult thing for me personally.
That's honestly what I was kind of thinking was, we don't have chapters to kind of break this up. It's kind of like, hey, play as much as you can, and then we'll talk about where we got, and then go from there. I think as well for me, just for being the first time I'm covering a game, is completing the game and completing it to a point where I have some kind of authority to talk about it. That I have a firm enough understanding on what all is going on. Did I miss something? Am I, noticing all the small little tidbits that kind of make the game interesting? So being able to really sink my teeth into a game while at the same time trying to be as, I guess, thorough as possible. Yeah.
And I think that's a difficulty that we have just in general with the rest of the games too, is just like the idea that you're playing this game, but you have to stop every couple of minutes to take a note to make sure that everything you are doing is like documented, and okay, at this point I need to talk about this. Here's this. We're going to go beat by beat for this and things like that, things of that nature. And
it's kind of, I hate kind of saying this about, I don't know if we would have even been able to like been eligible to get it. But like review copies, being able to literally just getting the game maybe a week ahead of the actual release, being able to like play through it so you can actually, understand the story, and then playing through it again So you can, actually, we're not having to worry about, setting up, okay, you play for this long and then we'll figure it out. But being able to, kind of take your time in that second playthrough to actually take checkpoints, do all the kind of small nitty gritty things like, oh, look, you can, if you go over here, you can find Jordan Voight Roberts and as a, as one of these survivors, and there's Jeff Keighley over there, and I don't know, Suda 51 is in this other one. I don't know if Suda 51's in the game.
Here's Conan O'Brien over here.
Yeah, like those kind of small things I think would be cool that we could get in a second playthrough, but unfortunately we'll just have the one. I'd like to revisit it sometime in the future, actually, kind of going in and like looking for Easter eggs and looking for deeper meanings that we wouldn't get in through a first playthrough.
Well, that actually kind of leads into Adam Bradbury's question, which is, well, he has a couple of questions, but so we're going to kind of take.
Hey, Adam, thanks, man.
Yeah, Adam says, do you think there will be fourth wall breaks in Death Stranding or nods to Kojima's other games, or characters talking about game instructions like press the action button to unzip and make a mushroom? And I think absolutely there will be.
Oh, yeah.
I think the fact that Kojima is like cloning his friends and putting them into this video game is already evidence enough that there's going to be a lot of like cheek. The fact that go ahead.
I will put solid money down that Kojima is literally in the game again.
Oh yeah, he's got to be somewhere.
I mean, it's just when we've seen fourth wall breaks just in like the trailers. Norman Reedus kind of, punching the camera. The literal fact that Kojima
like
Productions
Ride with Norman Reedus being an advertisement in this video game.
Yeah. Kojima Productions being plastered on the side of bunkers. And Kojima is notorious for this kind of thing by doing fourth wall breaks. And then the whole idea that the game is all about connecting people. There's an easy way to do that for fourth wall breaks. I don't think there'll be a Metal Gear. I don't think there'll be that many Metal Gear nods, though. Unfortunately,
no, I don't think so. I think any Metal Gear nods that will be in the game are going to be very, very subtle, as if to almost miss them. Because I don't think he wants to risk any legal trouble.
I mean, Alessia noticed this, and so in like Hartman's library, there's just a box. So I think it'd be something like that. We might see maybe, like a Police Knots or like a Snatcher reference here or there. But otherwise, I don't think
here's a theory.
All right.
Giant Amelie is a Metal Gear. Metal Gear Amelie. Oh. Nuclear strike. Extinction event. Launch.
Will there be a Mario joke about the mushrooms? I would love that, but I feel like Nintendo would be all over that. But to follow that up, he says, I think we can take the mushrooms as a confirm for Death Stranding coming to the Nintendo Switch. There's my theory.
And he throws that in there with a little winky face, so very tongue in cheek.
I love it. I just want to like play as like Sam with a like Luigi or a Waluigi hat on. Running through the UCA.
Waluigi time.
Just waha.
I can with my voice like this, I can really do the Waluigi voice better than ever.
That is really good, actually.
Waluigi number one.
With the characters talking about in-game instructions, Kojima has done that with the past, like all Metal Gear Solid, boss, press the circle button to da 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 da. I don't really consider that fourth wall breaking, though, honestly.
No, I don't think so. I guess technically, you can consider a fourth wall break anything that like takes you out of the experience and acknowledges the real world. Sure, when the game becomes aware of itself to an extent. Yeah, so very technically, I think that is a fourth wall break, but I don't know.
Yeah, but it's a kind of a cool way to introduce instructions, and I don't know. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I don't care either way. I'm
yeah.
saying.
Yeah. So thank you, Adam. If I hope we answered that.
We got some questions here from Jerry the dog.
Yeah, Jerry the dog. He's actually my favorite listener.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, everybody else. Jerry the dog.
Jerry the dog.
Do you guys think there will be a dog in Death Stranding, and do you think we'll be able to pet it?
Actually, Sam, that it reads, do you think there will be a dog in Death Standing?
Oh, it does say that. Wow. Thanks, Jerry the dog. Wink. You know who you are, made that typo.
I hope so. Yes. Because there should be a dog in every video game, and if there is a dog, I better be able to pet it,
or I will be able to pet it.
I will return the game, and I'm leaving the podcast.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm ending the podcast.
That'll be it.
Now, so here's the thing: if there's not a dog in the game, fair play. But if there is a dog and you can't pet it, that's where the problem's going to come in.
Yeah, we're done.
Always be able to pet the dog.
Wrap it up.
We stand being able to pet a dog in a video game.
Absolutely, we stand being able to pet the dog. And we also stand Jerry the dog.
Yes, we do. We stand Jerry the dog. So that's some of that. We've got some off-topic questions. If you'd like to get into those,
sure, I'm down.
So we'll start at the top with another couple of questions from Alessio, where Alessio wants to know: do either of you guys ever find yourself returning to a game or playing a specific game as a grieving, depression, or comfort ritual?
Absolutely.
What's yours?
So I got 3. I'll play either The Witcher, like Witcher 3. I'll play Monster Hunter, any of them. Or I will play Metal Gear Solid 4. Because
4.
Yeah, 4. Because they bring me back to a time when my best friend was still alive. And these 3 games, with Metal Gear Solid 4, we literally sat in his room. We went to the midnight release, picked it up, and we literally sat in his room and played it until 3 or 4 o'clock the next day and beat it. And it was a really cool memory that I always have. We were both teared up at that final scene. Monster Hunter, because we'd played it all our lives as kids, even up until adulthood when we were living together. We would go sit in the living room and just play Monster Hunter together. And then he's the one who introduced me to The Witcher, and we would go back and forth about Witcher lore and all that. So it's kind of a way for me whenever I get sad. It's kind of a way for me to go back to those times that I had, just to kind of decompress a little bit. It kind of reminds me of them. What about you?
I understand. So the weirdest thing about me is that as much as I love video games, I don't usually turn to them in times of distress or depression. I actually find that they overwhelm me a little bit more than, because I have to put myself into them. And so I find that it overwhelms me in those moments more than it helps. And so I usually turn to movies or TV, because it's just it's a single track thing and I can just focus on it and not have to worry about anything else. So I'll watch Scott Pilgrim vs. the World for the umpteenth time, or I'll find a comedy special on Netflix or something and watch that. I'll watch things as opposed to playing them.
Right. I can see that. I can see that being good. Kind of lets you decompress. You don't have to worry about anything. You just kind of enjoy. Yeah,
because it's there's a lot of thinking involved in playing games, by design. And I just, if I'm in that kind of state, I just don't like having to think a lot.
I understand that. I suppose for me, it's that I like to distract myself.
Yeah.
If I can force my brain to think about something else, I will.
I think the way that my brain works is that it just gets overloaded really easily. So if I'm thinking about one thing and then I try to replace it with something else, and I don't, like, my brain doesn't want to forget the other thing, like, it freaks out.
Right.
And so it's nice to just be able to not have to think about inputs and what have you.
Yeah, no, I get that. Alessio follows up with, do video games have to be fun?
No.
No, they don't.
I don't think they do. We had this discussion in the page or the Discord a while back, but I think fun and engaging are two different things.
Absolutely.
And they often are tied together, but they don't have to be. So, like, I'd argue The Last of Us is not a fun video game.
It's not.
Do I think it is? No. Do I think it is an engaging and essential video game? Absolutely. Do I think it's fun?
It's the road
No,
to the video game.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, Last of Us is one of my favorite video games of all time. I've only ever played it once.
Same.
Because it's so heavy.
Yeah.
So I don't...
I was going to say...
I'll probably play it again before Last of Us 2 comes out. Thankfully, that got pushed out again. I'm very happy about that. I need more time. But yeah, I have no, like, desire to just go back and play it for fun, you know, as opposed to something else. But
no, same here. I was going to say, like, video games like Firewatch. Firewatch is objectively not a fun game. You don't do a lot in it, but it is a fantastic game. It's a fantastic experience to just kind of be in it. So no, I don't think video games have to be fun at all. I think you can.
And then you think about, like, all of those horror games where you're like, all you have on you is a camera and a flashlight, and those are your tools.
Yeah,
you know, I wouldn't call those fun, but I would call those engaging.
No, or
if that's for you, you know,
or like the Long Night. You know, these kind of like we're talking like survival games. Like, I don't consider survival games fun.
No, they're stressful and hectic as shit.
Yeah, but they're extremely engaging, and they kind of keep you, you know, locked in. As opposed to a game like, I don't know, like Super Mario Brothers, like Odyssey or Smash Bros or stuff like that. Those are fun games.
Yeah.
But and I don't need, like, my video game to be like an art house an art house film in video game format for it to not be fun. It's like what we're talking about, where if it puts you in a different state, I consider it doing its job.
Or, like, even if you think about like a game like Spec Ops: The Line, which I think is another example of a phenomenal like story driven experience. Like, the gameplay itself is just a very standard fare military shooter. Which, like, at that point in time was just another, you know, if you weren't paying attention to the story, it was just another in a long line. And I would argue that after a certain point, those stop being fun as well.
Absolutely.
But because of the story, like, it drives you, and that's another one that I have no desire to play again. Like Last of Us, where the story is so powerful and engaging, but it's just so heavy. And so I think that, so I don't think the games have to be fun. I think the games definitely have to be engaging for them to be worth it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they have to be fun.
Yeah. I mean, the literal point of a game is to, you know, have you pick up the controller. If there's no incentive for me to do so, then the game has failed in its ultimate job. You know, like stuff, you know, like some people might argue that, like, you know, like the Soulsborne games don't incentivize you to pick up the controller just because it beats you down so much. But to me, that's those games aren't fun. I'll just say that right now.
Yeah.
They make me angry. I've thrown controllers across the room so mad. Kind of anger, you know, like 14-year-old, like, edgelord kind of anger from, like, Bloodborne. But I love those games. They're not fun, but they're extremely engaging. I love the lore. So no, long story short, no, video games do not have to be fun at all.
Indeed. Adam Gard, good friend, asks, with all the hype and build that always surrounds the release of a Kojima game, I'm wondering which are the top games you have been extremely excited for in the past, and did they live up to the hype?
Thank you, Adam.
All right, I'm gonna excuse me.
Yep.
I'm gonna round off here by saying, very recently, Kingdom Hearts 3 was huge for me. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 3 is one of those games that rivals Metal Gear as like my favorite series of all time. And you know, the answer to that question changes day by day, but like generally speaking, like it's one of my top two. And Kingdom Hearts 3 was coming out, and this is a game that I waited like almost 10 years for. Like it'd been a long time since 2 came out, and they have all these like side games, but like it's even since the DS game, the last like actual entry in the series, like it had been like 6 or 7 years. And so they announced the date and they announced everything around the game, and I was just like, holy shit. And I was so hyped for it. And I guess the answer to that question, did it live up to the hype, was yes and no. Because I loved Kingdom Hearts 3. Like it's one of my top 10, like it's one of my games of the year. I loved that game so much, but like if I'm looking at it from like a very like specific, like, did it answer the questions that I wanted to answer? Did it tie up the ties that I wanted to tie up? The answer is no. Like, it didn't do a lot of stuff, but I think it did what I needed it to do for it to be a game that I loved, but it didn't do enough to, like, be a suitable end point, quote, for the series.
I hate
That's
that.
my big answer.
I hate that I mean, like...
Yeah, it's very obvious, like, 3 isn't the end of the series. Like, they're doing more Kingdom Hearts, and it just, like...
And the storylines
whether or not
even more with, like, convoluted.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's the reason why it didn't tie up so nicely, is because they want to do more, but, like, it almost feels like, well, if you had tied up the story nicely, then you could have gone on to do more and just, like, started from scratch and maybe made your game less convoluted going forward. Like, that could have been a thing as well, but they didn't, so...
I got a couple.
The
one that did live up to the hype was Skyrim. I was in college when it came out, and I remember, because I loved Oblivion, and so when Skyrim was coming out, it was like me and my like teammate at the time were both really excited about it. We went to the midnight release. We got it. We stayed up all night playing it. And I loved it. I still love it to this day. I've got, the enhanced edition here in the house. And it's just because I'm a big nerd and love, fantasy RPGs.
Although, real talk, don't give Bethesda your money anymore.
Yeah, no. Bethesda is just a terrible, terrible company now.
Yeah.
The game that kind of lived up to the hype, and I'm sure I'm pandering here, but was Metal Gear Solid 5. It's like it gave me the gameplay I wanted, but obviously the story was very much lacking.
Yeah.
Then the game that super let me down was fucking No Man's Sky.
I was No Man's Sky, dude.
Furious. I was absolutely I was like, oh man, when's it gonna get good? I know it's gonna get good at some point. Why isn't it getting good? And then I got to the center of the universe, and they're like, bet, check it out. Good job. You spent a couple hours grinding to get here. Fuck you. We're gonna shoot you to the end of the galaxy and wreck your ship. Have fun. No, I hated that game. Yeah. I absolutely despise that game.
I've tried to go back and play it, like, after all these updates that people say make it better, and I just can't get into it.
I refuse to. No, I got a bad taste in my mouth. Absolutely not.
I've tried. It's just not. I don't know. Like, I think there's it should be one of those games that's just easy to play and just zen out to, but it's not. Like, I don't know what it is about it. Like, I can't get into it. It's just boring to me.
Well, it's like they were trying to do like Minecraft in space, and it just didn't work. The one game that I'm hoping doesn't end up like that for me again is obviously Death Stranding, but Cyberpunk 2077.
Man, I'm hoping I'm hoping so hard for Cyberpunk, and
because I love CD Projekt Red. Like cyberpunk stuff is my favorite kind of fantasy genre.
It's got Keanu Reeves in it. How could it be bad?
That's what I'm also saying. Because I love Keanu. He's my boy.
Speaking of Bethesda, really quick, one game that I was really hyped for that did not live up to the hype was Fallout 4.
Yeah, that one was.
I can't Fallout 4 was just not great to me. I wish that I liked it. I couldn't get into it. It's not a great picture. It's not a great game.
It wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't what we should have got, I guess.
Right. It just didn't capture the spirit of the other ones. We had an argument. We had an argument with Alessio about whether or not 3 or New Vegas is better, and you can have your opinion about which one is which and which one you like better. But the thing that we can agree on is that both of them are way better than 4, and that 4 did not capture the energy of either of them.
Yeah. I mean, it just didn't. I mean, it felt hollow. I mean, that's the thing with 4. I mean, I didn't feel a strong attachment to any side that I was, joining. I didn't feel like what I did really mattered in 4. Mm-hmm. And that sucks, and I hate that.
Yeah. But what are you gonna do? You want to know a weird inverse to this question, since you mentioned Skyrim.
What's that?
I really like Skyrim a lot, kind of like you did. But I was not hyped for it at all because I didn't really. I'm on the record as being somebody who didn't really dig Oblivion much. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't explain to you why, but I just didn't really dig Oblivion, and so I picked up Skyrim on a risk, and I really love Skyrim. So that's my inverse to that question.
Game that had zero hype that blew my mind was No More Heroes. I literally it was me and my friend Hester were going through Blockbuster because that was still a thing, and because I just got a Wii and found just saw it on the rack, and I was like, there's a dude with aviator sunglasses, red leather jacket, and a lightsaber. What is this fucking game about? Then we got it, and then I was like, dude, this is literally one of the coolest games I've ever played in my entire life.
So we're going to move on to Chris Hampton's questions, but I want to answer his first question last, since it's going to be the lengthiest one, I think.
Yeah.
So, his first question in all caps. Have y'all watched Twin Peaks yet?
Yeah, boy. I watched it with you. You were on my couch, and we watched season 3 together, and it was a really awesome day. Have you watched Twin Peaks yet?
Not yet.
Sam.
I've been meaning to. I know.
Sandra, what is wrong with you, Bobby?
I know. They're on Netflix. I need to watch them. I just haven't.
It's legit I think it's me, Chris, and Alessio's favorite TV show. I'm pretty sure of all time. And for anyone else out there who has not watched Twin Peaks, watch it. It's fantastic.
I'll watch it eventually. I'm here for it. I just haven't had a chance.
It's Kyle MacLachlan, Sam.
I know. He wears Uggs.
He does wear Uggs. And he looks good in them. We stand an Ugg
Kyle
boot.
MacLachlan wears Uggs and he looks good in them. That should be the title of a Twin Peaks podcast.
Yeah. Kyle MacLachlan wears Uggs and he looks good in them. Diane, it's 1:08 p.m. and Kyle MacLachlan wears Uggs.
He looks fucking good at
them.
Chris also asks, what makes a good video game OST? Original soundtrack? I think it has to serve the game, right?
Absolutely. It has to kind of evoke the feeling of the game in in the actual, like, whether it be lyrics or just the music itself. Oh, it has to make. I think a good OST makes me feel the same way that I felt when I was playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Metal Gear Solid 3's OST.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, there's like a
chef kiss. Mwah.
It's a spicy meatball.
Mm-hmm.
There's one track. It's just the do 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 do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's done in this kind of like old school like surf rock style.
Yeah, with like the guitar, like
Oh my god.
like the acoustic.
I
so
feel
good.
like the biggest badass walking literally anywhere while that's playing in my earbuds. Just walking into a store, just I'm like, oh yeah, what's up? There's like this weird like Spanish like castanets in the background, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I love this. But yeah, it has to make me feel the way that I felt while playing the game.
To kind of tie it into Death Stranding a little bit, I'm worried about the OST for Death Stranding, not necessarily the songs on it, because so far the songs on it have been really good.
Yeah.
I just wonder if it's going to fit the tone and fit like how I feel about Death Stranding. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what I kind of thought? I've been thinking about the OST for Death Stranding in a weird way.
You know, they still haven't put out that Bring Me the Horizon song? Yeah, well, me too.
Aside from that, you know what it kind of reminds me of?
So,
like a playlist that you would make for someone going on a road trip. It's kind of an eclectic mix. It's not just one genre. It's kind of all over the place. You got Major Lazer, and you got Bring Me the Horizon, and you got Aura, who I am now a big fan of because I love her voice. Oh my god. And you have Kasabian, and it's just, it's like all those bands do not fit together, but they do if you're making someone a playlist.
Perhaps someone who's walking across the country.
Mayhaps.
So we'll see about that. Maybe it'll fit in a different way, but we'll see how that flows as time goes on. Last question from Chris. I hope you got your list ready, Cole.
I do, but I think I have more than 10.
Okay, well, I have way more than 10. I'll do like a little like yeah. So we'll do our top 10, and then we'll kind of list our like honorable mentions. But I have way more than 10. What are your top 10 games of the past decade? So here's how I think we'll play this: is we'll start with 10. We'll both say our game, and then we'll move to 9, and so on and so forth.
Okay, mine I'll tell you are in no particular order because I couldn't just say this is my top. I think it's tied. My top is tied. Okay. So I'll say those.
I've got mine in a specific order, but it's fine. So we'll just start. I'll say number 10. You'll know that I'm starting with an actual number 10, and Cole's just saying a game.
Yeah.
So number 10 for me is Kingdom Hearts 3. Love that game. Just didn't do enough, I think, to like really make it the end of an era for me, and so that's why it's so far down.
Right.
What about you?
If I'm going to make a number 10, I'm going to say Journey because I love that game. A lot of the games that I've talked about earlier are in this list just because I do hold them so near and dear. Journey was just a weird game that I picked up when I was still living in Athens. And I had no idea about it, and I started playing it. I had no idea what was going on with it, and then I realized that I was like really alone, and that was a weird thing for me. And then I got my first like ping from somebody, and I realized, oh my god, like I I can interact with somebody. And then me and this guy literally played the entire rest of the game together because I couldn't find anyone else. And so me and him just ran it. It was just a really, really cool experience for me.
I like that. Number 9 for me is Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, that's on my honorable mention.
Yeah. I spent so much time playing Grand Theft Auto 5, man. Like, it was so good. It was one of the first games that I had for my PS4 as well, because they had that remaster that came out.
Yeah.
And so I played it so much. I played it all the time.
It was, you can literally just lose yourself in that game and just play for hours and hours. Just keep doing different shit.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that so much. I think the one thing I will say about it is that I wish there were more heists in the story. And I wish that they would have focused on more like story content, but they got all their money with the multiplayer, so they never really did. That's a little bit disappointing, but
Works for me.
What you got?
Number 9 is Fable 3.
Mm-hmm. Really?
I don't care what anyone has to say. I fucking loved Fable 3.
Wow.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
How very brave of you.
Yeah, I'm the hero. I'm the hero that this podcast really needed. No, I mean, like, I loved Fable 2, obviously. But I really, really enjoyed Fable 3. I like games that have a good balance of, like, you know, like whimsy and seriousness, and that did it for me. You know, it was goofy, but it dealt with some kind of dark subjects. I liked the idea of, I just liked everything you could do. You know, like, really, you know, if you wanted to focus more on magic, you could do that. If you wanted to focus more on gunplay, that's a thing as well. Are you going to be a tyrant? Are you going to be a benevolent king, you know, or queen? I'm not, you know, that was a cool option that you had in there. But yeah, I loved it. I understand why people did not like it. But those people are just as entitled to their wrong opinion as I am to mine.
Yikes. Yikes. Big yikes.
I loved it.
I give that 7 yikes out of 10. That statement.
I'm gonna give it as many yikes as you want. It's spooky season's over finally. We done with yikes in the yard.
Yikes in the yard, baby. No, we're never done with yikes in the yard. Never.
What's your number 8?
Is Telltale's The Walking Dead, the original season.
See, I have a Telltale in here on my honorables, but it's not that one.
Okay. So
why did you? What was it about the Walking Dead series that you loved?
It was a story, man. Again, that you know, Telltale games. It's an adventure game. It's a point and click game. It's just nothing too crazy or special about like you know, that kind of deal. But it was the first time in a long time. Like, it was kind of like the revival of that genre, right? Because it came out at a time where, like, that genre was just kind of like dying or dead, you know? And it came out and it was just this really great story. Again, like, very personal, important story. And it was like this revival of this genre. So the gameplay wasn't like, you know, mind blowing or crazy different. It was like, oh wow, I'm playing this style of game again, and I get a really cool story. Yeah, hell yeah. And it also came out at a time when Walking Dead, the show, was still good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I will say I loved what Telltale has done for, like, that kind of genre, because I do like because it's a casual kind of game. You know, you can kind of pick it up wherever. And you don't have to invest a ton into it.
Yeah.
My number 8 is Firewatch. It's another one of those games I just kind of found, and I really, really loved. It's like a character study. And it came to me in a really kind of pivotal part of my life. It talks about some really kind of intense. It delves into some pretty intense, issues, with like mental health and anxiety and kind of paranoia to an extent. And I love the story. I loved the kind of the not knowing in that game, just the absolute unknown of it all, which is really, really cool to me.
I like that. All right, number 7 for me is Nier Automata.
I'm not gotten around to play it yet.
It's very good. It is a very good game. I think Alessio might put it higher up than I did, but I think he would agree that it belongs on a top 10 list, I would say. It's just so interesting. Like the story, I love that the fact that you play it and then you go back and you play it again and it's different, and like that's how you get the complete story. Like it's just, the story is so interesting, and the way that it works, like the way, like everything about it is just really interesting. So, and I love the gameplay too.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that it's just an incredible game, and like the storyline. I mean, it's kind of got that like kind of like cyberpunk aesthetic once again, which is why I would guarantee.
Yeah, the atmosphere is so incredible. There's one, like, I will never be able to forget. There's this one place in Nier Automata that is like a abandoned like carnival. And the atmosphere of this place is just so haunting and amazing, and I will never be able to forget it as long as I live.
It's because that's
the first carnival. Time I like. Well, like I guess, but like you need, like you have to play it to like understand what I'm saying. Like it's just so like.
I feel you.
Like the music and the air, like the atmosphere, like everything works so well together. It's so good.
Nice.
Yeah. Number 7, Cole.
I'm gonna blaze through this one. Skyrim, obvious reasons.
Yeah, we talked about.
Lasted a decade, still great.
Yep.
Big nerd.
Yep.
What's your number 6?
Yep. My number 6 is Life is Strange, the original Life is Strange.
I've got friends who swear by it.
It's such a good game, man. It's just like it's another one of those games like Walking Dead, where it's like one of those adventure games, and like the gameplay itself isn't anything to write home to, but it adds a twist to it with like the time mechanics that it adds to it. And it's such like a great, like it's such like so it's like a crazy mystery all wrapped up in this like coming of age like teen drama, and that's so my jam, dude.
Right.
It's like my entire jam.
It's just the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, just like the entire jar of Smucker's jam that's what it is. So definitely Life is Strange. I'm playing through Life is Strange 2 right now, and that game will also have been like, I really love it, but I don't know if it's anywhere close to as high as
it's not as
one.
Not in your top yet.
No, it's it has a lot of like elements that are a bit more personal to me, like episode 4 of Life is Strange 2. Like I had it I started crying while I was playing it because like it hit me really in a really personal place. But
I love games like that.
But overall, I think I enjoyed Life is Strange 1 more. We got one more episode of 2 though, so it might blow me away. You never
know. My number 6 is Red Dead.
Oh, okay. The original?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
It's going to be the second one. I had a tough time deciding between Red Dead Redemption or Red Dead Redemption 2, and I just think the world of Red Dead Redemption 2 does it for me better than the original Red Dead Redemption. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just it's fun. I can lose myself in that world. I literally have taken days where I just fished and played poker for like a solid 4 hours just to kick it. You know, it's so expansive. The online is a lot of fun if you have friends. That is, yeah,
a very important distinction.
I just I like a root and toot and shoot 'em up.
Well, for me, my number 5, Cole.
Yes.
Is the original Red Dead Redemption.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at him.
So my answers for why are the same as yours for 2, except flip it over to 1.
Gotcha.
I don't know what it is about 2. I just cannot get into it. And I've watched my roommate play it some, and I think the story is great, but just like for some reason the gameplay doesn't speak to me as much as the first one did.
Yeah.
And I reckon they're pretty similar.
Hail.
So I don't know if I don't know if the first one just came to me in a place where like that was the kind of game I needed or what, but I don't know. I just can't get into 2 at all. Also, but like
I played the hell out of Red Dead Redemption, just the original.
Oh yeah, I did too. And some spoilers for 1 and 2 here, but like I think that, Red Dead 2 tried it, but I think the act of your main character dying and then you playing as a surprise character at the end, I feel like it was a much more powerful thing in 1.
Oh, absolutely. Spoiler alert for a game that's, 10 years old at this point?
Mm-hmm. That's why I said spoilers for 2 as well, because 2 is more recent. But
yeah,
but like,
for 1.
Arthur dying was a big emotional thing, but I think like you knew it was coming, and then you also knew that like, oh, they're gonna pull a 1, and you're gonna have to play as probably John, and then there is.
Yeah.
But then like
with John,
but
though.
like John dying, like you'd like to say that it came out of nowhere, but like it almost makes sense.
They did him dirty. That was just
they did do him dirty, but like it makes sense that that's how it would happen. But like you're not expecting it, right?
No, not at all.
And then you play as and then you play as Jack, and you get revenge for him, and that's like the whole thing.
Just murk all of them.
Oh,
and it's so like, rewarding.
And it's just so good. Like the way that it's done is so good. I think John Marston stands as like one of my favorite like video game characters of all time. Yeah.
Just like that kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the bandit with a heart of gold kind of
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is a weird one, so don't get mad.
For number 5?
Yeah. Okay. LA Noire. I loved LA Noire. I still love it.
Oh, no, I don't begrudge anybody LA Noire. I liked LA Noire a lot.
I still play it to this day. I like going back. It's one of those kind of like relaxing games.
Tell me, you like to touch kids, do you?
Yeah. I was just getting after like like a perp or something like that. I love the soundtrack. And also, it feels like the game is talking to me because the main character has the same name as me.
Yep, Cole. Well, except for at the end when you play as that one guy and they do a lot of weird stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, Eleanor is really good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was just a really cool story. It was Rockstar kind of going in a different direction, which I always appreciate from a game studio as well.
When you ever get a chance, read up on like the drama, like with Team Bondi during the game. It's very interesting.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. All right, number 4 for me, Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's
Mass
a good
Effect 2 was, I think, the perfect balance between the gameplay of 1 and 3, because I think 1 was very like clunky in a way. And I think 3 was too actiony in a way, and I think 2 was a very good balance between them. It has some of my favorite characters in the entire series. Morton Solus, R.I.P.
R.I.P. King, absolutely.
They killed my boy in 3. They killed Thane in 3, which they shouldn't have done. They Legion is all time top up there. And then they bring the favorites from 1 back and they give them more depth. So like Tali, my one true love. They bring in Miranda and her butt. There's a lot of stuff.
Miranda and her butt.
Yeah. Jack is a very compelling character. There's a lot of like really good stuff about 2.
Yeah, I love to.
The suicide mission is super great. I think like the last mission is just wonderful. I think like everything about 2 is just like my perfect Mass Effect game.
It was really good. It was really good.
And don't get me wrong, I liked 3. I liked 3, but they did a lot of stuff with the story, that was a little weird. And I think, like I said, I think the gameplay is a little too actiony.
I get people's grievances with 3, especially the ending, but 3 was a
fantastic
game.
I'm not like here like calling for blood about the ending. Like I was fine with the ending, but like I was like, it could have been.
I'm like, well, I can take it or leave it.
Yeah. So that's my number 4, Mass Effect 2.
My number 4 is The Last of Us. Because it affected me in a way that I didn't think a video game could. And then I read The Road and I was like, oh, this is just The Last of Us, the book.
Yep.
It's such a good story. Joel is a character that part of me wants to be. Just this very kind of it's obvious that he cares. That's the thing about Joel is that he's just this very convicted, just stand-up guy. While he does lie to Ellie, I mean, fuck, what are you going to do in that situation?
Right, exactly.
No, I love The Last of Us. It was just such a it's a great story, great characters, great gameplay. I love the crafting mechanic, and I usually hate crafting mechanics. Yeah, I don't have a bad thing to say about it except for the fact that I still have nightmares of hearing like clickers. That's the only bad thing about that game. Stop. Hi, this is Spooky ASMR, and I'm going to go change pants. I'll be right back.
Okay, cool. Number 3 for me is Persona 5.
I almost put Persona 5 on my list.
Yeah, Persona 5 is fucking phenomenal.
And the music is fire, dude.
The music, the fucking aesthetic, just shoot it all. Take that game. Ooh, hear that? Tapping a vein, shoot it into my veins.
Get it. I'd never see it coming. Just
you
fuck
never
me
see
up, fam. That is
man.
It is a great game. I usually don't like JRPGs besides like Final Fantasy. And I loved it.
It's just so stylish, it's hard not to love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole idea behind Persona is such a cool thing. These like kids who become like thieves that are kind of like Inception, but instead of going in your brain, we go into the dark parts of your heart because you're a bad person secretly. It's just so cool. It's just really, really cool to me.
I'm thankful. So Persona 4 was on the other side, like the back, like the other side of the decade. So I was thankful because if Persona 4 had also released this decade, I would have had 2 Persona games on my list because Persona 4 is also incredible.
I've heard that it is. I still haven't had a chance to play it.
Yeah, Persona 5 is incredible. Persona 5, The Royal is coming out next year, and I'm very excited about that as well because I love Persona because like they have these super core awesome experiences, but then they release like this bonus like a couple years later or like a year or two later that's just like not just like a remaster, but like here's new content and like here's all
extra
this new
stuff added
shit.
to it.
Like it's So love that.
Nice.
What is your number 3, sir?
I'm cheating a little bit, but I hope that you'll let me.
All right, well, let's say it and then we'll see. The Arkham series?
If I had to pick one, I'm going to pick Arkham Knight.
Okay.
But I loved every single one of the Batman Arkham games because I'm a huge Batman nerd.
Good.
Oh yeah, I mean, the combat.
The only thing that I would say about Arkham Knight is I didn't quite like the Batmobile sequences.
I could have done without them, yeah. But I just love the kind of like how free-flowing the story was, and
Mm-hmm.
they could have done the reveal of Jason Todd, spoiler alert, a little bit better. But at the same time, I wasn't mad that my main villain was Jason Todd the entire time.
Mm-hmm. And then he becomes Red Hood. Yes.
Yeah. Then he becomes Red Hood, which is, I mean, cool. Yeah, I mean, like, but I kind of miss the kind of edgy Red Hood that I'm used to from the comics. That's neither here nor there. This is me. This is Cole's time to bitch about DC. Like anyone else needs to hear that. What's your number 2, my dude?
My number 2 is 2018's God of War.
Yes, I fucking love that game.
So
I just started playing
good.
it, actually.
The gameplay is so great. It's so visceral. It's so good. The story is incredible. They found a way.
Yeah.
They found a way to take Kratos and make him an introspective, almost gentle father figure.
Which is crazy.
And made it make sense. Yeah, they made it make sense too. And then they had your side character, the boy, who is a child who is actually not annoying except for one point in the story where he's supposed to be annoying.
Right. I will say I don't mind him at all whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah, they do some story beats that like make him annoying, but like there's reason for it.
He's a kid. I mean, he's going to be annoying. Kids are annoying. If you're a kid and you're listening to this, you're not annoying. You're cool. But you also should, like, come on, man. This is a
You're probably kind of
podcast. But yeah, no. I mean, kids are annoying.
Yeah.
But no, I've enjoyed it so far. I'm still working my way through it.
Yeah, keep playing. It's so good. Like, it's already good. It gets better. What's your number 2, sir?
My number 2 is stereotypical because it's Breath of the Wild, because that game slaps. Hey. I love it.
Wow.
It is so much fun. I haven't had that much fun with a Zelda game since I was like 8. And now I'm...
Interesting.
It's like 20 years later, and I'm having as much fun with a new Zelda game. There's the exploration, the crafting. Once again, hate crafting. Love it in this game because it's just cooking. I love the bosses. I love the kind of random mini bosses that you just find, walking around. The side quests are actually, engaging. The only thing I have bad to say about the game is that you have to have the DLC to continue after you beat Ganon. And that's not cool, Nintendo. Really not cool. Because y'all still had Reggie when this game came out, and that man would have never allowed that to happen.
So I'm on record, and this is gonna be controversial. I'm on record on the Patriot Club, but this is the first time I've said this on the main feed. Couldn't get into Breath of the Wild. Don't know what it is.
I really wish you would give it a second try, because I was the same way, and then I did it again.
I've given it so many, Cole. You have no idea how many tries I've given it. I've given it so many tries, and I just can't get into it.
I hate that because it's such a good game. It's such a good game.
Now I appreciate that people enjoy it, and it should be my jam, but I don't know what it is about it. I just can't get into it.
The way that people feel about like Diablo 3 is the way I feel about Breath of the Wild. Bar none. Easily. What is your top pick, my friend?
My top pick, my number 1, you may have seen this coming if you were paying attention to some of the stuff I said earlier, is The Last of Us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I that game is one of the few games in this life that I will call essential. Like, it's so
if
good.
you own any kind of Sony product and you have not played it, you are really missing out.
You owe it to yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you owe it to yourself. Yeah, like a lot of the reasons why we said earlier as well how important the story is. I think like it's just essential to me, and it is quite frankly one of my favorite. Like, not just of the last decade, but like one of my favorite games of all time.
Mm-hmm. It's just an amazing It's actual art, that game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Actual art, the video game.
Yeah, actual art, the video game.
All right, what's
so
your number one, Cole?
Like I said, I had a tie at number one because I couldn't pick one over the other. So my number ones are Bloodborne, and The Witcher 3. If I had to twist my arm, I would give it to The Witcher 3, probably though. Because I love the story, I love the environment. But the thing is, I can say the same thing about Bloodborne. I love the story, I love the environment. I love Geralt as a character. I like the idea. I love the idea of the hunter from Bloodborne. I love them both for the same reasons in different ways. I can't find a bad thing to say about either of them. Yeah, they're just incredible games that tell these incredible stories. And once again, if you have not played either of them, you are doing yourself an absolute disservice by not.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You got any honorable mentions there?
I have a lot of honorable mentions. So I'm just going to read my honorable mentions off in no particular order. Sure. But I cannot ignore how good they are to me. 2018's Spider-Man is on my list there. Uncharted 4, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood.
Yep.
Skyrim is definitely on my honorable mentions. Spec Ops: The Line. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for being like the best Smash Brothers. Battlefield 3. I play that game so much. It's on my list. Overwatch, Final Fantasy 14 and 15.
Okay.
Dragon Quest 11, Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Sleeping Dogs, and Dead Space 2 are my honorable mentions.
Nice. I don't have that
and
many.
Metal Gear Solid 5, I guess, but like here,
I've got it all. I have that on mine as well. The Long Dark as well. Animal Crossing New Leaf, because I fuck with Animal Crossing really heavy.
I never played New Leaf, but I'm very excited for the one coming up.
Dude, we're gonna have a sweet community. I'm just saying.
Hell yeah, dude.
The Telltale game that I had on mine was The Wolf Among Us. Because
Wolf Among Us is really good.
I'm really into the Fables comics. So I was like, oh man, they made a game about this. Sweet. And then Portal 2. That came out this decade.
Wow.
I loved pretty much anything that Valve did. So, and Portal 2 just is a great puzzle game, and the idea of Cave Johnson is the greatest thing in the entire world to me.
And then I have 3 games as well that like could very well be on my list if I had like played and completed them. I just haven't had time, and Witcher 3 is one of those games. I still need to beat Witcher 3. I have all the DLC, like I have the complete edition. I just need to do it.
Oh my god, Blood and Wine is so good.
I've heard. And then the other 2 are I Am Setsuna and Octopath Traveler. Both look right up my alley. So, yeah, and I guess pending Death Stranding being the greatest game of all time, I think that's probably going to be my final list. We'll see if Death Stranding creeps onto the top 10, but it's definitely probably going to be in my honorable mentions.
Oh, no. Yeah, Death Stranding for sure will be in the honorable mentions. I'm sure it's going to be a great game.
At the very least, right?
Yeah. I feel like we're just like psyching ourselves up at this point.
And then we've got one final question here. Thank you for that, Chris. We got one final question. We're looping back to Alessio Summerfield. Cole, how are you liking being on the show?
I love it. This has been an incredible experience. It's been one of the most creative things I've been involved with. I've loved getting to talk to you and Alessio and the rest of the community. And it's just been kind of cool to learn how to do all of this. I hope everyone is still okay with this for the time being. But it has been an absolutely amazing time being on the show. I have no complaints. It's just been a whole hell of a lot of fun, and I'm really sorry that my computer is the worst thing in the world, and I'm causing you extra headaches. But I
There's less headaches and more throat aches.
Hope to keep doing it.
I hope you keep doing it too, Cole. We've enjoyed having you on the show. That does it for our topics. Now it's time for some responses. Our first response is from Quenter via email. Thank you, Quenter. Says, hello, Sam and Cole. I have a few theories, so feel free to pick and choose if you decide to read one on the podcast. We're going to read all three.
Yeah, man.
Number 1, Death Stranding happened when the UCA was experimenting with time and space. This triggers a void out when something goes wrong, and after this event, everything isn't put back to how it was before. Similar to radiation, everything is affected in some way. The cryptobites stop the rapid aging, and time falls being one of these effects, while Sam being able to sense BTs is another. The messing with time is also the reason why we see the World War I battles.
This is kind of similar to what you were talking about. I like this. I like this theory. You're going to, if you're messing with time and space, you are going to, something is inevitably going to go wrong, right? That's just an understood, right?
Yeah.
The cryptobites stopping the rapid aging. I want to know what they actually are. That's the thing.
I don't know where they came from.
How do they stop?
Yeah.
The time fall.
Oh yeah. I'm curious.
I have a theory, but I really hope I'm wrong.
Oh, what's that?
I have a feeling that cryptobites, in a weird sense, are kind of like essentially stem cells, or
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
It wouldn't be far-fetched for Kojima to do that.
Yeah.
I just, like I said, I hope I'm wrong.
Quenter's number 2 actually ties into what I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the launch trailer where you see Cliff escaping that facility. Quenter says, I feel like this game will have 2 playable characters.
Interesting.
Sam will be the protagonist, the embodiment of the character. You're observing the world for the first time as he is going west for the first time. Cliff will be the, quote, main character. The backbone and setting of the world will be explored more through Cliff's story. The game will cut similarly to The Last of Us, where after a major scene, the perspective will switch to the other player for a bit. The thing connecting both of these characters is Higgs being able to be on both sides. Higgs is a threat that is inevitable for the player to face off against, similar to time for normal human beings. Kojima's quote at TGS about coming back to the game years after playing it is about the inevitability of time.
I like this theory. The only thing that I have with it is the we already know that lines spoken in the game. The second most spoken character is Die Hardman behind Sam. That's not to say that Cliff, can't be a main character because he doesn't have that many lines. There are plenty of characters that don't speak, that are main characters. I like the idea that Higgs being the kind of tie between them, though.
Which we kind of discussed was like a thing we believed anyway earlier. A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that they're kind of two sides of the same person. The backbone and setting of this world will be explored through Cliff's story. I can get behind that. We're seeing that in the launch trailer. It kind of seems like Cliff has a very integral part to what all was going on.
So we'll see if it's playable or if it's like flashbacks or cutscenes. We'll see. But it's an interesting idea. And number 3, Higgs is not the final boss. Amelie is.
No, she's not.
Giant Metal Gear Amelie is
she's
the final
not.
boss.
She's not the final boss.
Amelie will be corrupted like Higgs in America by losing the hope for the world she had when she embarked on her expedition. America's a lie, Cole.
Uh-huh.
By the end of the game, Cliff and Sam will be parallel to Higgs and Amelie.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, you're saying no because you don't want to get
I'm not
slapped,
gonna get
bitch.
slapped.
Gonna get slapped,
Look, Quinter,
bitch.
I love 2 out of 3 of these theories.
Bitch.
No. Higgs is not going to be the final boss. I feel like Higgs as a as one of these kind of like extinction level beings will be the final.
Statue of Liberty Amelie, extinction level.
No, that's a dream. That's a dream sequence. I'm calling my shot right now. Amelie's not the bad guy.
Bitch.
You're gonna get slapped, my dude. Okay,
Slapped,
just listen. You. Oh, I am booking my flight to Washington right now.
Good, bitch. Come, get slapped in front of the fucking Space Needle, bitch. Anyway, thank you, Quinter, for your theories. We appreciate all 3 of them.
We appreciate 2 out of 3 of them. Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Would you like to read the next theory?
Sure,
Cole?
sure, yeah. So this one is from our favorite boy, Alessio Summerfield, via email. He says, "Greetings, Sam, and that guy that replaced me."
Yikes! That's like 8 out of 10.
Okay, hold up. Can we stop real quick?
Sure.
I might be filling in these really big shoes here, but I can never replace you, my guy.
Oh.
You're right there in our hearts always.
These really big shoes that belong on Eiffel Tower or Amelie.
Listen, bitch. Okay, I'm not doing this right now. Anyway, I will not do our boy this disservice right now. Anyway, writing in ahead of listening to the episodes with Ryan and Terry.
He likes it.
So hopefully I'm not running in some hive mind and all of my thoughts will have been presented by the 2 of them before I can submit this. If so, please just write back and I can throw some more chiral logs onto the primordial fire. Here we go. Speculation. What if what's quote-unquote chiral is Sam's world/reality and the various other players' worlds? We talk about nearly identical reflections that aren't exact and dog tag blueprints describing black holes. Why not house an entire multiverse within your game that gives story context of the mechanics of a semi-shared world? Dark Souls did this with the stacking of different eras and past champions. Step further. What if our world, the one that we are currently inhabiting, was one of the included dimensions? The Great Cataclysm was a divide or impedance that severed Sam's world's connection to this multiverse network. But before that happened, what if Norman Reedus adds on motorbikes bled into Sam's reality? My mind is broken right now.
Keep going. Break it more.
What if Cliff
hurt me more, Snake.
What if Cliff wasn't originally from Sam's world, but instead was one of the first to make contact with Sam's dimension from ours? Which is why we only see the normal Cliff from POV. What if Kojima himself resides in the moon with Ludens? What if you can find our real-world Kojima productions within Death Stranding? What if Kojima built a way to bridge his games with our reality in a narratively sound way? I would be surprised, but at the same time be like, yeah, no, that makes sense for Kojima. Why would all these multiverses be connected? They're taking resources from other dimensions, much like the players sharing their resources. Maybe they're taking babies from other dimensions. Maybe Sam was morally opposed to this multidimensional theft. Maybe the beach is part of it. Or maybe Sam can kill his creator? Maybe that's why Kojima, quote-unquote, borrowed so many real people's likenesses. If not, it's a cool thought. Oh, and also, what if Cliff's avatar and Sam's quote-unquote reality is the weird, tall master of puppets hand giant?
Yikes.
Okay. Let's talk.
Let's talk. So I wonder about that very last point, since like Cliff actually did show up really for Sam
Yeah.
in that launch trailer. But I am curious about the Master of Puppets hand giant for sure.
I think I don't. That thing is really just been a confusing aspect to me.
Maybe so. You know how we. So here's my thought, and this is me legitimately saying this, and not trying to fuck with you. What if that's? Oh my god, sorry. What if that's one of Amelie's avatars? Because we saw Giant Amelie. So what if that is Amelie?
Right. I mean, because I think Giant Amelie and that thing are BTs, like straight up. I don't know if they're avatars, but the whole his avatar and Sam's quote reality is what's throwing me off. Just because I think Alessio is onto something with like a multiverse type network going on here. I think that's the most sound narratively.
And then Miles Morales swings in with the rest of the Spider-Man, saves the day.
Yeah, Spider-Gwen's right behind him.
Yes, please. I love Spider-Gwen so much. We stan Spider-Gwen. We stan Lee Spider-Gwen.
This guy with the jokes and the antagonizing Alessio jokes by saying we stan. We stan standing annoying Alessio.
Yeah, we do. We stay standing, we stay annoying. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying over here. Honestly, being sick has done a lot for me, being able to do different voices.
I love it. I love it. It was
oh yeah, we stand over here. We're standing here.
You're getting down into these lower registers with me, you boy.
Getting down to the lower registers. I feel like Colt Duncan down here.
You're coming on down here to the lower baritone.
Coming on down here, Colt Duncan. I'm over in 10IC now. Yeah. Drinking some whiskey. Drink some whiskey.
Get this man some whiskey and some pork cracklings. This man's hungry.
I fucking love pork cracklings.
Pork cracklings. That much. Okay.
Pork cracklings. I love them.
The Norman Reedus ad on motorbikes. Here's the thing on that. I feel like this is just a Kojima thing. Same thing with the monster. Same thing with the JF Ray.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Monster.
Oh, Monster Son. Yeah, sorry.
I thank you to use it.
I think that's just a Kojima thing, if I'm being so honest. I hope Kojima resides in the moon with Ludens. I think that would be only appropriate.
What if Kojima is Ludens?
I don't want that.
No. Why not?
I don't know. I think I want like a big Ludens like that we like know of and then we see like the actual Ludens, and then somewhere down the line we see what we think is Ludens, and the mask opens up and it's just Kojima, and he's just like and just kind of like looks at us like with this real goofy grin. I would love that. That'd be a great kind of Silent Hill 2 Jerry's running the show behind all these smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
What if Cliff wasn't originally from Sam's world, but instead was one of the first to make contact with Sam's dimension from ours? So he's saying that Cliff is from our world.
Well, that might make sense as far as like the theory that we've had to hear about the Higgs boson and the collider and everything like that too.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's what they were trying to do with it, is get connected to the multiverse, and then something bad happened.
Yeah. The only thing with that is, which is why we only see the normal Cliff from POV. That's right. That's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've already kind of connected that normal Cliff is a precursor. Yeah. And Alessio wouldn't know that just from because when he wrote this, the launch trailer hadn't come out yet.
Right.
Um,
So who knows?
Observation. The briefing plot pitched to us is almost exactly the plot for Escape from LA. Look at this man.
I mean,
He's not wrong at all. Sam has to go to the West Coast to save a woman being held in a virtual paradise by Middle Eastern influenced, see the Egyptian and Middle Eastern influenced garb, terrorists bent on anarchy. Also, they pull Sam out of retirement, with the group also somewhat evoking the Patriots, even down to having an older member who is dying of an illness a la Zero. Even Escape from LA's soundtrack is filled with guest stars akin to Death Stranding's OST. Do you think that Kojima's love of camp and self-righteousness can coexist within Death Stranding's universe? It feels so much heavier and with weightier stakes and things at risk than Metal Gear Solid's tone ever really felt in the moment-to-moment gameplay. Yes, I do.
I do too. I mean, you've seen it too, right? Within like all the safe house stuff,
Yes,
like all the goofy shit you can do in the safe house. Like,
that's the reason is that, and this is gonna
Monster Son.
This is gonna sound, I guess,
Ride with Norman Reedus,
kind of pompous. Life is camp to an extent.
Yeah,
you know, these kind of very odd things just kind of happen, and we don't really pay attention to them. Is it like when we're referring to camp? You know, I'm not talking about like Met Gala this last year camp.
Oh my god.
But I get the camp of Kojima.
Yeah.
I think it's important for it to be there. Because, you know, it can still be a very gritty and self-serious game and have these moments of kind of campy levity, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I agree with Alessio on here that things were never as weightier in Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Metal Gear Solid had a lot of like very like heavy moments. I think he's saying like
Metal Gear Solid. We're talking about, you know, people, you know, a small cabal of very influential people essentially running the entire world and taking it to the brink of annihilation multiple times. Granted, you know, we're already past an extinction level event in Death Stranding, but where you can draw parallels here, you know?
Yeah. And he also mentions like moment to moment like gameplay, but we also don't know what the moment to moment gameplay of Death Stranding is going to be like.
Absolutely.
So we have no idea how that like campiness and that like tongue in cheekness and that that weird like self seriousness, how it's going to blend in at all. Like it could seem a certain way, but if I'm watching a trailer for like Metal Gear, like if I'm watching a trailer for Ground Zeroes, knowing nothing about the rest of Metal Gear, it also feels like that like tone can't fit inside of Ground Zeroes or 5 either, or 4 or 3 or any of them.
Yeah.
So without knowing like what the full experience package is, we don't really know. So I think it definitely can.
Absolutely.
And as a matter of fact, I think it will.
Yeah. He did have a few more questions here.
Yeah. So we'll kind of like answer them as we go with these here.
Yeah. Can you guys think of any contemporary media that has come out of the gate with big picture shit first, intellectual read, inspirations, etc., and much later filled in the plot details like Death Stranding has done with its marketing?
Not really. None off the top of my head. This has been a very unique like marketing experience for me.
Yeah, the only thing I can kind of think of is Chernobyl from HBO. It was really vague going into it. You think that you're going to be watching a docu-series, and then boom, it's all about, you know, like crazy corruption that was happening during the Soviet Union, and, you know, these kind of dark hidden things that happened in the days leading up and after. And that kind of series has been inspiring to, I've heard like a couple of different filmmakers as far as historical retellings. Does having more concrete nouns, proper nouns, and capital L lore make you more or less hype? I can take it or leave it, honestly. I love lore. I'm a big, like I said, I'm a big like D&D guy. So any lore I can get, give it to me. I'll read it. I'll try and memorize it, and it'll help me enjoy the game more, I think.
Alessio says, personally, it's definitely not as interesting to me as the symbolic stuff, and actually has occasionally felt cheap in comparison to the grandiose reveal trailer of Sam on the beach that we originally got. And I can respect that, but I also, like, I kind of don't care one way or the other, because I've never been, like, as far as, like, the personalities in the show goes, I've never been the guy that, like, really dug so deep into the big, like, background lore of it all. I kind of just enjoy it for what it is. And it's honestly been since doing this show that I've really thought about that kind of stuff anyway. And so I think just in general, I don't mind.
Well, I don't think that the lore, capital L lore, and the symbolism are, you can have both to me. I don't have to be spoon-fed lore, because I do find the symbolic stuff cool. I don't know I don't think any of it's really felt cheap to me personally. I just think it's been interesting. I've been taking it as it is. I've been trying my best to not read into things as much. Alessio will know this. Myself, he sent myself and Chris Hampton a video all about kind of like Lynch and the last season of Twin Peaks, and just being able to kind of take a director at their word is something that I'm actively trying to do more of. So, do you guys think Sam will be as pervy as Snake? No.
No, I don't. I think for obvious reasons.
Yeah. No, I don't. Well, he's not as goofy. Like he's campy, but he's not as goofy.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be like we've already seen. There's gonna be like Kojima has a very specific like humor and style,
right?
And I think there's gonna be some of that stuff in there, but I don't think Sam's gonna be the main catalyst for it.
Realistically, do you think this game will do well enough for Kojima to keep making more games at this scale?
That's hard, right? I think because we talked with Terry last week about how like what happens if this game flops. You know? And I wonder, one, if it even does flop, and two, if it does, what does that mean for Kojima going forward? And I think that this is gonna. I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea about this. I don't hope the game flops, I should say. I really don't. I hope it does very well. But I'd almost be interested in seeing, like, if it does flop and Kojima is forced to make smaller scale games that are more tighter experiences. Because that's something that we've, like, mentioned before, is that Ground Zeroes is so good because it's this, like, very small enclosed experience, and it has the gameplay of 5 that we love so much, and it like really it sets out to do what it wants to do, and then that's it. You know what I mean? And there's side stuff, but like it tells its story, and then it's out before it overstays its welcome. And I'd be very interested in Kojima doing original stuff.
Yeah, I'd love that
with a similar restriction.
I don't think it will do well enough, though. I think that like our core fan base will absolutely kind of support him through no matter what he does.
Yeah. I just don't think its marketing has been strong enough for like more casual eyes.
I agree.
I think only in the last like week and a half, 2 weeks has it really been doing more mainstream stuff, like going on Conan and like all that stuff. But I think up till now, like its marketing has been so we talked about this last week, but its marketing has been so strange and very much targeted towards a specific demographic, which is us.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think its marketing has been strong enough to grab the masses.
No. I mean, it's been targeted towards the Metal Gear Solid gamer, the and there's the kind of oddball gamer that just wants a kind of crazy experience. Thank you, buddy. And I didn't replace you. Sam, you want to take
our next? Yeah, I got this. Our next one is from Sam L, or Inferior Sam via Discord. We don't like calling him that. It's super weird, but whatever. Sam says, this was a message that he posted on the Discord that I thought was really interesting and wanted to pull for the show. He says, so having listened to parts of episode 104, I decided to study Psalms 137 a bit as one of those, quote, devout Christians who agrees that the Old Testament can be super metal, which is something that I said. And it got me thinking. First, some context. Psalm 137, taken as a whole, is a song of lament, remembering a time for the Jews when they were held captive by the Babylonians. A quote from, Psalms 137, 37:1, he says, by the waters of Babylon, there we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion. Zion being the name the Jews gave to their home. Here's the whole chapter. So, by the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept when we remembered Zion. There, on the poplars, we hung our harps. For there, our captors asked us for songs, our tormentors demanded songs of joy, and they said, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How can we sing the songs of the Lord while in a foreign land? If I forget you, Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill. May my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you, if I do not consider Jerusalem my highest joy. Remember, Lord, what the Edomites did on the day Jerusalem fell. Tear it down, they cried, tear it down to its foundations. Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction, happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. So verses 1 through 6, the author remembers a time while in captivity the Babylonians demanded they sing songs from home to entertain their captors and how they couldn't do it because they weren't happy. In verse 7, they recount when another enemy nation celebrated when the Jewish capital fell. Then in verse 8, they return to talking about Babylon, and so the whole context goes like this. Daughter Babylon, doomed to destruction, happy is the one who repays you according to what you have done to us. Happy is the one who seizes your infants and dashes them against the rocks. Verse 9 is the author stating that it would essentially be a blessing if the Babylonians ceased to exist because all their children died. And now for the Death Stranding theory. In the very first trailer, we see Sam holding an infant and weeping. We also see Sam in pictures with a pregnant woman. A great deal of Death Stranding has to do with pregnancy and children. Sam and, quote, someone's child might have started the BT-BB thing years ago. His child might be the original BT and or the key to stopping the problem. So maybe the uses of verse 9 is to say it would have been better if Sam or Sam's baby had been killed rather than having lived, since it seems the world is held quite captive by the BTs. And also Babylon contains the word baby. The baby that Sam is holding is tethered to him with an umbilical cord similar to what we see with the character Mama. We know from other trailers that the BB on the end of Mama's cord is in fact her own child, and Sam has a big X-shaped scar on his tum-tum. I love that he used tum-tum. It could also be something as weird as when twins are first in embryo stage, and then one embryo absorbs the other. Sam could be tethered to his sibling, a twin. Twins would also go hand in hand with the whole chiral thing of symmetrical but not identical, which we had the man who cut ties with the living Sam could be tie into that. And this is a note for me. I couldn't find this part of the comment, but he mentions as part of his theory that he thinks Amelie and Bridget might also be twins.
There's a lot to unpack. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah. Lots more biblical allegory and symmetry and things like that.
And we're getting those biblical allegories. You know, if you listen to, what was it, 104, I believe, where we talked about this, where we found there was a connection to Psalm 137 in Death Stranding.
Yeah, because we kind of briefly touched on it, but he mentions that he listened to that episode, and that's where he formed all of this from.
So a great deal of Death Stranding has to do with pregnancy and children, and Sam and someone's child might have started the whole BT-BB thing years ago.
So saying that Sam is basically the catalyst for the whole incident.
Right. Well, we know that Sam almost had a kid. Lou. Yeah. And I mean, this kind of, in a sense, kind of works with Sam's theory here. It would have been better if Sam or Sam's baby had been killed rather than have lived. And as we know, Sam's baby did not make it. Let's see. Baby that Sam is holding tethered to him with an umbilical cord. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of these kind of very relatively overt allusions to birth and death and pregnancy and that kind of thing throughout the game. Twins would go hand in hand with the whole chiral network thing. Yeah, we're like this is what we were talking about earlier, where you know people have a kind of chiral twin or double.
And now if you look at like the whole thing, now they've revealed that Mama has some kind of double or twin or duplicate of some kind. Like it's very interesting. I think in the launch trailer they did that thing where they transpose Bridget over Amelie saying the same thing, and it's very strange as well. And what could that mean? And so it's all very deliberate in its delivery.
Yeah. So are we saying then that Amelie and Bridget are kind of chiral twins?
Maybe. But then again, like Bridget refers to Amelie as a separate person, and Amelie also calls her mother, and it's so confusing. But like mother, maybe mother as in like clone as well. You know what I mean? So,
and
we never really know.
I just thought of something actually. We find out that like Amelie is from the beach. She says so in the launch trailer.
She was born there.
She was born there. Yeah. What if she is the mother of Lou? Technically, that could be, you know, Lou could have been the original BBBT.
Well, because that was the other thing too, is like Fragile. I think that kind of like destroys the whole they're related by blood thing, Sam and Amelie, because Fragile does mention like, oh, you love her, right? You love her. Yeah. So I think that's probably more accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great shit. Good shit.
It's that good theories coming out of the Discord.
Do you want to read Matt's what she said's message?
Yeah, I gotcha. Matt's what she said via Discord. Thank you, my friend. Death Stranding, and this one might honestly be my favorite, if I'm being so honest. So, tip of the cap to you, my friend. Death Stranding is about a man doing what he feels is right and taking care of his child until Maury Povich reveals that he's in fact not the father. The baby was genetically engineered by the government of the United States of America and implanted in a female special forces soldier, so then you must backtrack through the whole game to give him back to his liar mom and get your child support money back. Of course, to complete your mission, you'll have to put a bullet in her. Honestly, I think we can shut it down now. He's right. That's it. We got him.
It's like the Citizen Kane clap.
Just big, slow claps right here.
A+. Thank you. Man.
Yeah, actually, I did see Kojima tweet out that Maury Povich was actually he was scanned in.
Really?
Yeah, Maury Povich is in the game.
Like really?
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing.
Like, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me.
Exactly. Would it really surprise you that much if you like came to a, I don't know, one of these survivors, and it's just like, what's up with all this like genetic? What's up with all these like?
That's where you're delivering all the sperm to.
Yeah.
He's got to make sure. He's got to make sure.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
Oh.
All right, so we've got 2 more letters, and I want you guys to pay attention to these letters very carefully because they might come back in a very interesting ways soon. Do you want to read this next one, Cole?
Yeah, I'll read this one. So this one is from my boy, my sweet, sweet Nashville baby boy, Chris Hampton, via email. And he says, I've been doing everything I can to avoid spoilers, even muting the Death Stranding channel in our Discord. But I've been listening and exploring what's available in isolation and without commentary. It's a bit of a meme at this point to hate on 2 things in video games: fetch quests and escort missions. We've already talked about that, haven't we? From what I've seen so far, that's the bulk of the content available to us in Death Stranding. If we compare that to something like Metal Gear Solid, which is full of consumable violence, from what I've seen, there's no killing in Death Stranding, and primary focus of combat is to subdue the human enemies. Lots of emphasis.
I think they do. They have some lethal weapons, but I think he's right in that, like, they've shown specifically.
There's a primary focus definitely on subduing, but there are scenes that we've seen where Sam just like legit has like a machine gun and is walking through a trench and just lighting some dudes up. There's lots of emphasis seems to be placed on a community aspect. Kojima keeps saying you're alone, but you're in this together with other players during the gameplay demo. This, quote, Strand game runs against the basic premise of the type of game that you would normally play with others. It's not competitive, it's cooperative, and it's experiential. I think that Death Stranding is an anti-video game. Hold on real quick. That's a mic drop.
Oh.
I think that Kojima is trying to do I think what Kojima is trying to do is show us that video games are bad for us. The very nature of a game on its own is that it is played in isolation and cuts us off from other people who play games by pitting us against each other in a competitive way, or by cutting us off from the reality of the world around us, binge gaming culture, taking days off of work to play a game on launch. I got shade to throw on that.
I'm only doing it because I have to do a podcast. Leave me alone.
Pre-release events, etc. I believe that what Kojima has tried to do with this game is make something that redefines the experience of playing a video game in a way that brings people together outside of the game itself and to build connections and bridges. See what he did there? To overcome shared obstacles that we face them alone. We can leave aid and guides to help those who will come after us, just as those who came along the path before we did. Anyway, those are my initial thoughts. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the final project looks like, especially since it seems like we're finally getting a game from Hideo Kojima that has the, quote, final cut on. Whew.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Chris.
Anti-video game. Go.
I mean, I see what he's saying.
Yeah.
Kojima, trying to show us that video games are bad for us. He did that in Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yep.
During that scene that myself and Josh at the top of the episode were both freaked out by. Literally in that scene, he, tells you, this game is bad for you. Turn the game off. And of course, that's a meme in itself, but it's still kind of, you should take the creator at his word. The whole aspect of the game is to bring people together. I think Chris is absolutely right on that part.
Mm-hmm. Amen. We got one more letter.
Yes, sir.
From Mr. Zach James.
What's up, Zach?
He says, "What up, Zach?" He says, "Hello, MGM.
Hi.
Zach here. Checking in from super secret Moonbase Alpha. Can you guys believe we get Google Fiber up here? So with the release of Death Stranding fast approaching, I wanted to write in with my thoughts and predictions towards the latest and hopefully greatest production from Kojima-san. Firstly, we've been getting trailers and information about this game for almost 4 years now, and I for one still have almost no idea what's going on in the game. But in the current landscape of trailers that basically give away the entire plots of movies and video games, I'm perfectly okay with that. So, thoughts and predictions so far. I'll say right up front that I've only really seen trailers that, and that's about it. No TGS things or anything. And from what I understand, the premise follows some sort of cataclysm that has fractured the United States, and it's going to be up to us players to fill in the shoes of USPS, FedEx / Amazon Prime / Milkman Sam Porter Bridges to deliver goodies and from settlement to settlement, bridging the gap between these settlements while working for the organization called Bridges. Bridges everywhere. George Washington, Verrazano, Golden Gate. The addition of Mads in tactical gear leading a squad of spooky, scary skeleton soldiers looks interesting and thoroughly confusing. And the World War I style setting we saw Guillermo del Toro, my second favorite of the del Toros, running around in, leaves more questions than answers. And I cannot wait to play the game to find those answers and figure out what exactly is going on. Troy Baker, Death Stranding name, every voice man, and he has a large, inky attack dog, which I'm sure will provide some heart-pounding moments. I think the thing I'm most excited about is seeing how the game will handle the don't even breathe sections that we've seen in some trailers. My hope is that we end up getting some tense Alien Isolation style moments when the BTs come out to play. Sorry for the disjointed all over the place message. I haven't watched enough to really have an opinion or speculations otherwise. The fact that the moon spiders up here are choking up the oxygen systems isn't helping either. Anyway, I'm extremely excited for the game and can't wait to hear your coverage on it. Cheers, boys. Best regards, Zach James.
Cheers, man.
And like I said, those last two letters, Chris and Zach, might come back in some interesting ways. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all we have. What is that one movie? The one where they can't talk and the monster reacts to
what's that?
Like sound. What's that one movie with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt where they can't talk? And
I'm blanking.
You know what I'm talking
about?
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
Blanking.
Where they don't talk and their daughter's like deaf and so they use
it's got like Jim from The Office, right?
Yeah. It's his movie. Like he directed it.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget the name.
Zach's comment about the don't even breathe sections made me think about that. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe it's like that.
Yeah, because I mean, like almost everyone has like a mic attached to their PlayStation. Mm-hmm. I mean,
so we'll see.
That'd be really cool. I'd love that.
Right. Let's
see here. First of all, best of luck to you up on the moon. One love to you.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad they got Google Fiber up there.
Yeah, cool. I don't even have Google Fiber down here. We just have EPB.
Tell me about it.
You're from what I can tell, you're right with your USPS, FedEx, Amazon Prime, Milkman, Sam Porter Bridges deliver goodies. You're right about that. So I think you're actually going to really enjoy this. Kind of coming in relatively blind.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right about Troy Baker's Death Stranding name. Definitely is every voice man.
Every voice man, yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it, guys.
Thanks for writing in, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess like that's been an episode. It's been an outer op. Fucking, I can't believe this game is coming out this week.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. Our first impressions episode. We're going to me and Cole are going to play as much of the game as we can and kind of just discuss the nebulous like idea of what the game is and how we feel about it as we've played. And then the week after that, we're going to start our official coverage where we kind of break down story beats and play the game through all the way and go from there. So please look forward to that.
Let us know what you guys think.
I will mention that. Yeah, we might have some surprises in store for those episodes, especially the upcoming first impressions episode. So stay tuned. I will mention there is a small chance we may have one extra episode after Death Stranding's coverage is over, but much like last year, once we're done with Death Stranding's coverage, we're going to kind of give it a breather and take a break for the rest of the year and kind of enjoy the holidays with our families.
Yeah.
So there will not be episodes after Death Stranding up until the new year, but then once the new year rolls in, we're going to be back in action with some good shit. So please stay tuned for that as well. And then also, we'll mention it here as well. Please email us, contact at metalgearmondays.com as you're playing Death Stranding, because we are going to be having an outer op about Death Stranding. We also want to read your thoughts about the game after having played it. So please contact us, write in. We want to hear from you. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, thank you to Fingers Music for the use of our brand new theme song, at least for the Death Stranding season. That's F1NG3RS Music on Twitter if you would like to check that out.
Big shouts out. Big shouts out.
There's links to his other stuff that he does on his Twitter, so please check him out. And then, as I also mentioned, Alessio will be streaming Death Stranding from 11:30 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern on Thursday, November 7th for the game's release, and then he's going to be taking a break and then coming back at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday, November 8th, the day of the release. You can find him doing that at AC Summerfield on Twitch or bit.ly/Alessio YouTube. And then you can also join our PSN community for Metal Gear Mondays. If you so choose, it'll be broadcasting there as well. So please check all of that out. Show him some love if you're not able to play Death Stranding or you just want to experience it without playing it. Alessio is going to be doing a lot of playing there. So please check that out. You can go to MetalGearMondays.com if you'd like to see everything that we do. We post all of our episodes there. We have all of our links there. But you could also go to patreon.com/MetalGearMondays to support us. We're going to have some news probably next week about like things that we're going to be doing with the Patreon, because we realized that very recently, because of all the changes and time things, that we haven't been, as, up to snuff with some of the stuff that we have been, supposed to be promising with the Patreon. So,
sorry about that.
Look out. Yeah, so look out next week for like some changes we're going to be making to the Patreon going forward. And yeah, so that's that. You can also go to Facebook/Metal Gear Mondays, Twitter @Metal Gear Monday to interact with us on social. Instagram is Metal Gear Mondays, so we have all kinds of stuff, fun stuff there for you. And yeah, I think that's about it. Cole, where can they find you on the internet?
So you can find me on Twitter @IamColeDuncan, and then you can find me on Instagram @Subterranean Homesick Brews. Hey.
And you can find me on Twitter @Sanjul, that's SANJUUL, or find me on YouTube bit.ly/SamDoesAthing. I'm still looking for that 100 subscribers so I can make a URL. But until then, I've got that bit.ly link. My most recent video, as you're listening to this, I ate a fucking hot pepper and reviewed Concrete Genie for the PlayStation, so check that out.
I'm so proud of you for that.
Yeah. So check that out. And yeah, I think that's about it. Cole, we're changing up the outro a little bit. Yeah, we're not doing the thing we normally do.
Oh.
I just like this entire time, like Cole, you started listening to this podcast as a listener, as a fan, and then over time you became a moderator for our Discord, and then you became a host on the show. And I think that's because of the strands that we've made. And I just wanted to say to you that I think that you and I might have like a connection or something.
I think you're probably right about that. I think we've got a pretty sweet connection there, buddy.
Yeah.
So we're doing connections now. That's the new joke, huh?
Yeah, we're doing connections because now the the outro is Jeff Keighley saying, "I think you and I have a connection" or something. Something, and then it outros into the music. So that's what we're gonna do for the Death Stranding season.
I'm okay with this. I'm okay with going out on Jeff on Big J Keighley.
I believe you and I might have like a connection. Something.